Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to our nighttime showing of a match between Sheep Launcher and jbruntr. I'm one of your co-commentators, Oscar424, and with me is the fantastic GPS themselves, the Gundam pilot Spaz. Gundam, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Oscar. How are you?
Not too bad. Got my nice little blanket all set up and nice and cozy and ready to go.
Yeah, it's an elimination match tonight here on the Free Enterprise channel. One of these racers will go on to the lower qualifying play-in. The other racer will unfortunately be eliminated from the tournament at this stage. So there's going to be a lot on the line, and I think we're going to see our racers really push themselves to the limit to try to stay in this.
Yeah, and I'm definitely. We don't get to see the objectives just yet, but I'm enjoying these not the single word naming schemes, but the whole like sentences or lyrics. And I've seen jbruntr's before, and it's leaving my brain right now. I can't remember what it's from. It's bugging me.
Yeah, definitely familiar, but I'm with you. I can't exactly place it.
Nope, that's a commander in chat put it for us. It's a Linkin Park lyric. In the end, that's what it's from.
Ooh, I don't know if he's preparing himself to lose tonight or if he's threatening his opponent. But either way,
like watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Countdown to the end of the day. Time go. I don't remember. But anywho. So yeah, still waiting to see what the start is. But looking at our objectives, thank you to our fantastic tracker Bad Karma. We've got some interesting ones. We have the standard forging of the Legend Sword. We have completing Mount Ordeals, waking our sleeping punchy boy with the pan, and then heading to the moon and taking on that vanilla ribbon room, so the dealer spot. What are your thoughts on those?
So, looks like we are going to have to go to every single map in Final Fantasy IV. Mount Ordeals is going to be an overworld objective. Waking Yang with the pan is going to require an underworld, and of course, the Ribbon Room is going to require us to go to the moon. So, not gonna be potentially not a jet seed, especially since two of those objectives are gated by key items.
Agreed, and it looks like we have a very fashionable Dragoon to start. So I'm a fan of starting with Kane. It's nice to have a little bit of a tank just in case I get a not so, or I should say, in case I get a squishy character to start. So I'm happy to see him. But looks like we are starting in. Look at that. We have an old man yelling at a cloud.
And with a twin harp start, that dungeon is open, and DJ Spoony Bard can potentially take the stage very early here tonight.
Yeah, I am very happy to see some possible twin harp music. And in Baron, we have either 100% lag with Rubicant or the Elements, so we'll have to wait and see which one in particular is standing right there. But with that, let's see where our runners take us at the beginning.
So with this, with our starting characters, I'm going to be feeling pretty good. Tella is a great utility character. It enables some quick grinds once we get to the high levels. So we always want to find him. He also has that exit spell early, which will enable our runners to do some more risky looting to get some better gear. And then with the exit, they can zoom out of those deep dungeons.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if our runners head straight to the watery pass and go as deep as they possibly can. And it looks like they are pretty much both heading there. So we'll be checking out potentially a free character and then some good items, hopefully.
With Kane with the vanilla agility flag, which makes Cecil kind of a less valuable character. Do like to see him. We're picking up a flame spear, which counters what I was going to say is that it's not always very easy to find great cane weapons, but with the Flame Spear, that's at least late, early to mid-game weapon that we'll be able to take out some of those overworld bosses with.
Yeah, and I heard you like Kane, so how about second Kane? Because we found Kane's body double in the Watery Pass. So I'm quite happy to see that, especially with that spear pickup. So we'll... Oh, actually, Sheep Launcher, they're both heading out after the waterfall. I'm kind of surprised by that. They're not going any deeper.
Yeah, I think a lot of runners have basically agreed that the waterfall is as deep as they want to go. Sheep Launcher gonna check the back of the cave. It depends on my party, but I think with 2 canes, I'm gonna want to open more chests than I would otherwise in the Watery Pass.
Definitely makes sense. It looks like jbruntr is going to be checking out to see who might be... Ooh, it looks like Rosa is hiding behind that sand ruby, so that will be a very nice pickup if they're able to find that key item.
Yeah, Rosa, nearly any seed is a wonderful find. The best white mage in the game, and in a pinch, she could also do some heavy damage with a decent bow.
Alright, so it looks like we are checking out Damsian on jbruntr's side, so we'll see who is our next free character, and Sheep's still checking out some of those chests to see if they can get anything good. I saw Zeus Rage, so that could be interesting for certain bosses, but otherwise, so far, decent, not great.
Also picked up a samurai armor, which is gonna put a bunch of defense on one of those canes.
Very good point. Yeah, I missed that one for sure. But let's take a look and see who our latest free character is going to be today. Ooh, that's a nice Starveil pickup to add to the collection. And it looks like you might not need the Sand Ruby after all.
Yeah, we have a free Rosa in Damsian. Bruntr is definitely going to be grabbing her and adding her to the party.
Yeah, that especially getting Rosa early makes me really happy. It makes me a lot more comfortable to tackle some bosses or some areas I wouldn't necessarily go to, especially with a currently locked Tella behind ordeals. So that's a nice find for me. Period.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna want to get her to at least Cure 2 before she has any real utility, but. Depending what our path underground is, having Rosa ready to be online is gonna just puts a runner at ease.
Just like finding that everyone's favorite spear, the Drain Spear itself. But I have noticed some Hourglass too, so depending on what bosses we come across early, those might be very good to find.
Yeah, the Hourglass 2s are gonna render a couple bosses just pretty much inert. Any of the guards, Baron or Kaipo, Dark Imps, will be able to just pause them and just do damage until they're dead. Ooh, Bruntr picking up that Elven Bow. Elven Bow is a great weapon for Rosa.
I remember. Is it good against mages?
Elven Bow is good against mages. Chat could correct us, but it also gives +5 to the white magic stat, as well as just being an overall powerful bow.
Looks like we're getting some menu boss encounters going on before we fight the actual boss of Antlion Cave, so soon we get to see who our first boss of the night is.
Commander Leonhardt correcting me, it's actually +5 to Wisdom, which is the black magic stat, not... what is the white magic stat? It's...
Willpower?
Willpower, yeah. just another one of those weird Final Fantasy for kind of, yeah. Some of those, some items in Final Fantasy IV just don't make sense what they boost.
Well, it looks like we have our first lunar sparkle in the form of D-lunars. So I would have liked to see a different sparkle here, but you know what? Anytime I can get a lunar sparkle super early in the grand scheme of boss encounters in Final Fantasy IV, I'm happy.
Yeah, not the worst boss to find here. Our runners are going to want to avoid doing any direct fight commands, because doing a direct fight command will trigger the virus script, and virus nearly anywhere in the game is just going to be it's just a very rude spell.
Agreed. It actually looks like both runners are making very short work of this encounter. That flame though is kind of rough to jbruntr, but looks like they should be fine, especially with the one cane currently in the air. Hopefully.
Yeah, unfortunately, those canes are only level 10. They're not doing a lot of damage. But the D-lunars here, they only have 500 hit points, so ideally they'll be gone. Yep, and both of our runners are through them.
Looks like they'll be giving each other a high five with this item that is... Well then, I heard you want to go underground.
Yeah, and both of our runners almost exactly in sync, getting their magma keys. Looks like we're not going to have a hook route on this hook route race. Chat is very upset.
And you can thank our absolutely fantastic restreamer Smapety for your direct all complaints, and thanks to Smapety.
You can feel Team Fade Antlion out there just rolling their eyes.
As jbruntr is checking out Mysidia and getting a third cane. And a Sid, there we go. I wanted to thank our lovely friends at Random Media for the raid. Welcome aboard to this elimination match between Sheep Launcher and jbruntr.
Yeah, so far we just pulled a magma key from the Antlion nest, so both of our runners have underground access, and we're just waiting to see who's diving underground first.
And I wouldn't say this is a guaranteed Jetty Seed just yet. There might be some rude locations for some of these bosses. You never know. There could be, maybe the Pan at Threemus in Sealed Cave or something fun like that. So fingers crossed there's a little bit of meanness left.
Yeah, on these flags, it's probably a smart move to dive underground here quick with those canes, because you're going to want to get down and check a bunch of shops. There's some powerful cane weapons available in gated shops. The Gungnir spear, one of them, which is pretty common on these flags. So if they can get down there, loot, sell some of it, find the Gungnir spear, cane is going to be online pretty quick.
Agreed. And we also saw some Soma drops in the Agate shop, which is a fantastic find for Tella. You might not think that extra little tiny bit of MP is much, but in reality, that opens up, if you want to do like maybe a D-money grind, that opens up another weak spell that Tella can cast. So that is really beneficial. Go on.
No, to back up what you said about giving Tella that little bit of extra magic power, the difference between 100 magic power or a 90 magic power and 100 magic power is between 3 and 4 weak spells, which when you're doing a D machine grind makes a pretty big difference.
And if my eyes didn't deceive me, I noticed that Sheep Launcher actually found a Soma drop on the way to Feymarch. But speaking of Feymarch, you always check your freebies chat, and looks like Sheep found the defense sword.
Yep, so one of those canes is online. Defense sword is the best weapon for cane. The white spear does more damage, but the defense sword is nearly as much damage, but it has a much better accuracy. So one of those canes is going to be pretty much as powerful as they can be, really quick.
And it looks like our tracker, Bad Karma, is mentioning that Sheep does not have one defense sword. Sheep has 2 defense swords, so yep, sure enough, 2 defense swords, so those canes are very happy right now.
And where was that pulled from? One of the chests in Feymarch or in the cave? Okay, that's that's a choice that not a lot of runners like to loot in that cave because of finding the trap chest there, which can make it quite rude. So if Bruntr doesn't get one of those defense swords, it could be a big difference in our parties.
Yeah, that was definitely a bold strategy, Gundam, and it definitely paid off for Sheep this time.
So yeah, nearly any boss on the overworld right now is going to be open to Sheep Launcher. We'll see exactly what he wants to do. My guess is he's going to check do the Sheila 1 activation, and then run up to Fabul and then completely check the overworld, getting that first objective at Ordeals.
Ooh, so it looks like where I was hoping to see a bonus round in the sealed cave, I was slightly off to the right, or slightly off to the left. We have a bonus round in the Ashura spot and another Lunar Sparkle in the Leviathan spot. Now that one can be a little scary.
Yeah, the demist there is probably gonna upset our runners a little bit. There's a gated key item behind demist, and it could be the darkness crystal, which means Feymarch. Not only is Feymarch potentially required, but then remembering to go and check Rydia's mother to get that demist check.
And Commander in chat is mentioning that jbruntr actually is a runner of the people and validated the seed. It looks like our job dwarf this lovely evening is a criminal lawyer, so good on that one.
I guess there's a big crime problem in the dwarf kingdom.
I mean, there's these people from the overworld just looting all of the chests, and yeah, I can understand how they have they're lawyering up right now.
Let's see. Sheep Launcher might be repeating our job dwarf check. Yep. So the people have not chosen a favorite runner yet. We'll see who gives us music first.
If we have enough betrayal in our 2 canes, we did not need a betrayal from one of our runners. So thank you, both of you, for checking those out.
All right, so Sheep Launcher is going to check the Tamara shop. I missed when Bruntr did it. Nothing really of value except maybe those mute bells, which can help with a warlock grind if that's what he's thinking. But just going to pick up the Cure 2s right now. Oh, no, taking those mute bells.
It definitely. I know I've made the mistake of finding items like meat bells early and going later on thinking, oh, these would have been smart to pick up later. Now I have no idea where they are, so I can't fault that logic.
No, definitely can't. I tend to try to be pretty conservative with my spending until I know I have enough sirens, Bacchus wines, like those really critical items, though.
Very valid point. And looks like our Sheep Launcher is launching himself potentially to the defense of the pool, or he might just care about a pan. We'll see. And by pan, I mean Sheila.
I must have missed. Sheep Launcher did walk. Yeah, Sheep Launcher did walk and talk to Yang. So he's going to get a 2-for-1 check here at Fabul with a defense and Sheila. He's undecided whether he wants to help defend the kingdom, but going to do both checks here, which makes perfect sense. We want to limit the number of times we visit Fabul.
I guess it makes sense if you wanted to attack the kingdom, you might as well throw a bomb at it. In this case, a mom bomb.
Yeah, we've only cleared one boss so far. Those Canes barely. I don't even think they gained a level there, maybe one. So they're still not doing a lot of damage. This spot will probably get them to about 14, and we're gonna see those defensors really start to pay off. Probably once we start to climb more deals.
And if I saw that correctly, it looks like our runners are effectively kind of following each other here, because I believe jbruntr is also in Fabul.
Yeah, Bruntr does not have that second defense sword, so giving Sheep Launcher the damage lead right now. But we still have plenty of characters out there that we haven't checked yet, so we might. He has an opportunity to mix it up and gain a bit of a lead.
And I see those drain spears in the inventory, so I'm sure chat's probably happy to see a drain spear, or in this case, 2.
Yeah, it's the potential of a cane anchor, which would be a really weird strategy with the Cid also in his party. But maybe he's not planning on keeping Cid for very long.
So it looks like Sheep is through that bomb fight, and we'll get to find out what item they get, and it is another key to add to the keyring collection. This time, the Baron key.
Like to see a bunch of overworld checks. It's gonna give our runners some choices, and we're gonna probably see some interesting routing. Dwarf Castle and the Tower are available now, with Baron being opened up, and Magnus Cave. There's a lot of options on the table.
And it looks like Sheila's got the goods today. The cutlery she's using happens to be the Legend Sword, 1/2 of the Forge objective. So all we need is a shiny rock, and we'll have a sword for currently not appearing in this Seed Cecil.
Yeah, getting 1/2 of our Excalibur makes this a lot more interesting, because now any objective is one. And any of those 3 objectives is 1 key item away from putting our runners, from clearing them.
Yeah, Sheep definitely doing some looking. I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking for a cursed ring right now. I know I would be at this point, but nothing yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, always checking those armor shops for at least to see if we can spot a cursed ring. I do find that the cursed ring recently went up in value on the 4.1, but I think it's also gone up in rarity. It might just be exclusively our wild shops here on these flags, but having a much harder time finding it in my experience than previously.
I know I usually either never find a cursed ring, or I find like 6, so there's no happy medium with me yet. But looks like Sheep's gonna be tackling their first objective, which is completing Mountain Ordeals, and we find a kid summoner in the form of Rydia, so we'll see. Oh, and it looks like he has that Sylph summon, so that's a very timely find for Sheep Launcher. I don't know. What are your thoughts of Rydia in the party? I'm not a big fan of her personally. My apologies in chat to all the Rydia fans. You can at me at this one. It takes her so long to learn spells. So unless you have the good summons, I tend to get rid of her.
With the Sylph this early, I mean, Sheep Launcher only had 4 characters. Not sure if I would dump anyone in Brunter's party for Rydia, but the Sylph is definitely a good summon for the early game, and yeah, it's a tough decision because finding a Bahamut after you dump Rydia, it feels really bad.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy printing money in Final Fantasy IV, but I don't know. If I start with Rydia, I'm more likely to get rid of her, as weird as that sounds, but she has her moments of shining.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, if I take Rydia and Mount Ordeals, I probably only keep her until I find a Palom, and then I just trade her off. Unless, again, Bahamut summon or something with a lot of utility. Yeah,
I'll agree with you on that one for sure, but my opinion is only worth so much because I'm Team Edward, so yeah. take what I say with a grain of whisperweed.
Team Edward is going to play a huge part in our upcoming table stage of this tournament. So don't make fun of yourself for loving the Spoony Bard.
I'm still waiting to roll an Eddie start, so that's the dream currently. And going with what Scala is saying in chat, my Team Edward doesn't need to sparkle. We just play music.
Okay, Sheep Launcher finding the Mage's Sisters. Both of our runners finding the Mage's Sisters up here on Mount Ordeals. Not a bad spot for them. This is not a terrible magic spot. So with these parties, I don't think they're going to have too much trouble just pushing through them.
And especially getting rid of Cindy first, you don't have to deal with that ever fun wall strats. Yeah, it looks like they'll be getting this probably in the next attack or two, maybe.
And once again, our runners are back in lockstep. They're going to be finishing up this fight nearly at the same time, and completing their first objective probably at the same time. Their parties are a little different, so we'll see. If those slight differences are going to give one of them the advantage. Sheep Launcher with those 2 defense swords definitely is going to be dealing a little bit more damage.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed that jbruntr able to pretty much keep up toe-to-toe with those 2 defense swords. And it looks like our back attack slot is the wide-awake Punchy Mage, Yang, the Karate Man himself. So let's see how quickly this fight goes.
We love to see the Karate Man here because, unfortunately, the developer has never intended for Karate to kick in a back attack spot, so he has to travel all around the world in order to kick our party from behind.
Real talk, I was so confused the first time I saw this visual glitch. I thought something was terribly wrong with my game.
Something is terribly wrong with your game. Board got to it and mixed everything up.
That sounds about right. That's probably why I keep playing it. I keep trying to see if there's some way I can fix it. And by doing so, I roll some garbage seeds.
So it looks like Brunter's Drain Spear, Kane, and Sid are really helping him get through that Karate Man faster than Sheep Launcher. What does Sid have equipped right now? I didn't see what he put on them.
I didn't either. I know that Zeus Gauntlet will definitely be helping jbruntr in the immediate future, but I think he got through that fight a little bit faster just with the more melee-orientated team, and the fact that, well, Tella has been locked for those two fights, so that extra yeah, and looks like our tracker Bad Karma says that, yeah, he just has the Earth Hammer right now, so.
Yeah, Sid definitely has levels on Kane this early, because you get Sid at level 20, you get Kane at level 10, and I think both of our runners probably don't have him past 15 right now. So that is a distinct advantage.
And given all the spots that you can see a very terrifying Odin, I would be very glad if I was those two runners to see Odin right there as a very quick fight for our runners. And with that, a pretty quick objective is just about done.
Yeah, Bruntr taking the lead and walking down ordeals, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. Again, with all those keys and that harp and the underworld open, we have a lot of checks, and we can start seeing some significant divergence by our runners here.
I'd probably take the easy route and go to Baron. I'd also maybe check my freebies. Well, not necessarily, because we already know where Threemus is. Yeah, I'd go straight to Baron. And that is exactly what jbruntr is going to be doing.
With that early magma key, neither of our runners has done the fight at the Baron Inn either. So, we're combining these two key item checks into a single stop at the Baron Town.
Yeah, that's a very nice thing to do, and something that for someone like myself that's still relatively new to actually running the randomizer in a speedy sense. That's something that takes a little bit to kind of learn to do and to know when to do it without kind of messing yourself up in the process. So yeah, if you wanted one Tella, how about two Tellas with a very free fight as the first part of that Baron Inn fight?
Yeah, you hate to see King Queen Evelyn at this spot. This is only a 400 HP spot. King Queen Evelyn is a scripted fight, so it's essentially free. Really kind of a waste of a free boss.
That was definitely a case of blink and you completely missed that fight. And we have a blue robe, and it turns out, wow. So, about that free fight, what's your thoughts on the gauntlet?
A free fight into a very non-free fight, but a little bit of a grind here for both our runners. The alt gauntlet will be 5 fights randomly pulled from one of the dungeons nearby, and can be a little spicy depending on the levels that you have on your party.
And there's definitely some very rude places you can find the alt gauntlet this one. Yeah, it's long, but I'm pretty sure runners have the gear and the levels to eventually make their way through the gauntlet. But yeah, feel free to stretch, take a quick walk around, get some coffee or water, tea, maybe a cookie. That sounds kind of good right now. And enjoy sitting through the gauntlets.
And the seat I was playing before this race, I ended up with the sealed cave alt gauntlet, which is one of the most rude ones, just because the bats down there use the vampire spell and the animation takes forever.
Oh yeah, that just sounds not fun at all. Was that a required gauntlet that you had to do there?
Unknown, because the key harp was the item down there, and I still had not found the darkness crystal, so I wasn't willing to leave it behind.
Gotcha. it's just when you run the gauntlet anywhere in the seed, you really hope that there is some value behind the gauntlet. You don't want to finish this and then come across like a basic bow or like a shirt. You kind of want a key item here, preferably like, oh, I don't know, a pan or an adamant or maybe even a Japanese crystal, something of value.
Yeah, but in this, I mean, they are getting a little bit of experience, and both of these parties are still fairly low level. You know, they're probably going to end up with 25,000 experience by the end of these 5 fights, and that can be valuable in its own right.
Yeah, you are definitely not wrong in this regard. Now, given the fact that we're fighting the gauntlet here, going into Baron Throne Room shouldn't be an issue. What about that Odin spot? Because it tends to be significantly harder than the freeing Baron Castle. With these levels after the gauntlet, is the Odin spot now on the table, or do you still want to wait depending on what boss is there?
Yeah, likely not. I mean, it always depends on what boss is there. They do have those hourglasses available, so that does make some otherwise hard-hitting bosses in that spot free. But they still, you know, these parties still might not be able to do the damage to get through them before the hourglass wears off. So it's typically something I'll come back to probably mid-30s.
Makes sense.
But it may be worth checking it, especially if you're starting to run out of other checks on the overworld.
And plus, the nice thing is, if we come across another blue robe throughout this seed, we know automatically it's the water hag, which in most spots is a free fight. I say most, because if there's a very physical spot, that might get a little spicy kind of fast. But I might take it on then. And we get a party rock, which means there is a very strong possibility that we might get to play everyone's new favorite game. I don't know what that game is. I thought it was Free Enterprise.
I think we're already playing Free Enterprise, Oscar. You might be confused.
Yeah, it was like a game show that you get free items for. It might be Hungry Hippos from chat. I think that's what it is. That sounds about right.
Xenocat, I am not going to repeat that. Oscar, would you like to sing Xenocat's lyrics for us?
Wait. I'm not sure. Wait. I'm not sure I know the theme.
But Party Rock was in the inn tonight.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not my genre of music. Sorry.
Oh no. And now everyone was subjected to my tone deafness.
Oh, don't worry, it would have been better than mine, totally.
All right, so now we get to play Rate That Treasury. Oh, and that was a rough one.
I mean, there's the crystal armor, so you can print a little bit of money from that. But I kind of agree with Old Man Vax in chat. That was a solid meh out of 10.
Yeah, that's I'd say two out of 10. Anytime you're pulling like the items that you can find in overworld shops from the treasury, you know you're having a bad time.
I mean, yeah, you got a headband, and I think that crystal ring also came from the treasury. I'm not sure though, but yeah, that was kind of disappointing. Seed, please.
So Sheep Launcher also making the trip to the treasury, going to be disappointed, like Bruntier was. And so let's see, are we going to climb up the Tower of Zot? Are we going to go to Cave Mages? We've already made it all here to this part of the world, so it makes sense to kind of route in one of these checks.
And because Sheep having 2 defense swords wasn't enough, Sheep Launcher has found a 3rd defense sword in one of those side treasuries. So if you have anybody else that wants a defense sword, I'm gonna slap the side of this seed and say this seed can fit all of the defense swords in it.
Yeah, maybe we should go back and get that 3rd cane.
I mean, I'm always fine with an all cane seed.
With this many defense swords, yeah, I would be perfectly fine. We just need 1 or 2 Avengers now, and then we'll be ready to fight Z almost immediately.
It's like Avenger, just a case of wine, and you know what? Sure, let's go that. Jasmine and chat, I know it's 3 for sure. I didn't see a 4th one. I could be wrong, though.
And Brunter is confronted with a French vanilla Valvalis.
Shout out to Dathis, who might have coerced Smapety into rolling a very French vanilla seed today.
Just sprinkle a little bit of vanilla in there. But with our Valvalis is a rude boss unless you have a cane, and we have 2 of them, so should not be a problem.
Now, does jbruntr have any defense swords yet, or is she hoarding them all?
Brunter has picked up the 1 defense sword that was in the rat tail chest in Feymarch, but I don't think he's found any of the others. I think when he went to Treya, he only did the treasury and didn't do the other checks. I could be wrong though.
And if you look on Sheep Launcher's screen, Sheep is continuing to be a runner of the people, and we might be getting some music, so get those Freem harps flying for some potential Spoony Bard goodness in the future.
Yeah, so Bad Karma, our tracker, is confirming that Brunter currently only has the 1 defense sword. And Asuka, why are people throwing up those harps? What is so special about the music down here?
You know, in vanilla, at this point, Edward saves the day because Edward is best boy and plays a song on his harp. Unfortunately, that song kind of boring. Well, what we've done in Franterprise is Calamity and I believe a couple other people have, correct me if I'm wrong on that one, Scala, have put together a fantastic collection of DJ Spoony Bard music. And it can be from a very wide variety of games. But we don't know which one it's going to be until we hear the Bard play. Oh, it looks like Calamity and Boardface have come together to make some fantastic music. So once our Bard gets to play his tune, we are going to be quiet and let you enjoy some fantastic music this evening.
Yeah, I recently got Dancing Mad, which is one of my favorite Final Fantasy songs of all time. And it was a fantastic version of it.
I feel bad. I tend to roll Zelda music, and I haven't played that many Legend of Zelda games. The one I know the most is Four Swords, because my friends and I would just throw each other off the map.
That's not a bad way to spend an afternoon.
Oh, it's a fantastic way to make friends and then break those friendships in about 0.3 seconds.
Yeah, griefing is not the way to long-lasting friendships.
But it looks like it's time for some music. So again, we're gonna quiet down and enjoy some DJ Sweeney D.
So we're getting this fantastic song from Wild Arms too. I want to point out on jbruntr's side, he completed Zot and picked up a darkness crystal.
And knowing that we have leg in Cave Magnus, that means in Fairy, again, we've got our elements, in case you hadn't noticed. But it also looks like jbruntr on the right is setting up for a D-Machine grind, which is a fairly new manipulation that's come out of the fact that can't run flag is on for the group stage. So these particular set of flags, this is a very new manipulation for Giant.
Yeah, correct. So we're manipulating what encounter seed we get in order to try to predict when we'll get the encounter on the Giant at Babel for the D-Machine fight. So jbruntr out here was doing some step counts, consulting our chart, which helps us determine how many steps you should take outside of how many steps to take after you get that encounter, how many encounters that you left to get on the correct seed. It sounds very complicated, but once you practice a couple times, kind of becomes second nature.
It's always fascinated me how quickly people can find these manipulations and learn how to find the appropriate seed. I don't know what witchcraft is practiced to find that, but awesome job with that witchcraft.
A combination of trial and error and looking at some code, I think, is what it is.
I mean, I put that right up there with explaining agility, so kudos to that. But also, Sheep Launcher did finish up Cave Magnus and got the pink tail out of that, and they are now tracking their way up Tower of Zot, which is, they'll be happy to see that darkness crystal in the very near future.
I do like the move by jbruntr to, as soon as he got that darkness crystal, even though he has plenty of checks left on the overworld, he's following his objectives, which is some advice that we always give runners. We try to give ourselves as we run through these seeds, in our own races. That objective that he needs to do is on the moon, so he's going to do his grind. He's going to get up to that moon, and he's going to complete his objective, and then from there worry about where to find the rest of his key items.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you've got the grind option on the table, you've got a party that you feel comfortable with taking all the way to Z. Why not? And so kudos to jbruntr for getting that underway. As witchcrafty black magic-y as it might be.
Yeah, the only thing The only thing that worries me about this grind, the D Machine grind, is whether I have enough healing and whether I have enough ethers for Tella. You can get through most of them with maybe 1 or 2 ethers, especially if you have ether 2s. But getting Rosa to Cure 3 is kind of like a guaranteed you're going to get through it. With Cure 2, you can get into some situations where you're blowing a lot of time.
And going back to something we talked about earlier with giving Tella that extra 10 MP, making the difference between 3 weeks and 4 weeks, that's something I have to really pay attention to, especially if you're not paying attention. You go to weaken one of those D machines and then suddenly you can't. Things can go haywire very quickly, and I've seen a surprising number of D machine grinds fail in this particular flag setup because they weren't paying attention. Myself totally included on that list.
jbruntr looks like he has the correct encounter. We won't know 100% until he's able to kill off those beamers and do some damage to that searcher to see if he actually does pull the dragon. Meanwhile, Sheep Launcher getting through that Vivalis, and he will soon have his own darkness crystal.
And it looks like jbruntr has the correct fight, so they'll be working on that for a little while, and then we'll have potentially 2 D-Money grinds going on at once. We'll see what Sheep Launcher does with their darkness crystal as soon as they get it.
Yeah, also spying that blue robe at the top of Zot, which means we have a water hag waiting for us as the second fight in Dwarf Castle. A little bit disappointing because that's only a 3,000 HP spot, and it's most bosses are fairly easy there. But it could be an advantage if the first boss is fairly rude and takes down a bunch of party members. So I guess the question is what that first boss is now.
I'm getting a sense if somebody is just chomping on the bit to see some rude, and I am totally with you on that one. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, our runners have had an easy time of it so far. We want to see like an evil wall at that ribbon room spot or something that's gonna really show off their skill.
That would be very spicy to see, not gonna lie. And actually, while Sheep Launcher is taking on Mylon Z and jbruntr is doing their D Machine grind, just quick shout out to those wonderful people behind the curtain. We have Smapety, who rolled this fantastic seed, and then Bad Karma, who's doing all of the tracking for this. I mean, Gundam and I, we literally just get to watch the stream, like you in chat, and talk about it for as long as we can. So we get to have some fun, but they're doing a lot of the work behind the scenes. So shout outs to them. We wouldn't be able to be doing this without them.
So going to be really interesting what Sheep Launcher does with his darkness crystal. Does he follow jbruntr right up to the moon or the D Machine grind, or is he gonna hang around on the overworld and complete a couple of those pending checks that we haven't seen yet?
It's tough to say. I mean, still looking at that Rydia, I don't know if she has any summons worthwhile other than the Sylph, which only works for so long. So I don't know. I might want to try to find another character, but I don't know. That D-Money looks kind of tempting, especially with that Tella in the party.
Yeah, and we still have while going to the moon is going to complete the vanilla ribbon room objective once they get through that boss, we still have another objective that does require another key item, and that key item could be on the moon, but it could also be sitting down in Dwarf Castle behind that water hag, just waiting to be taken. So it's some interesting routing, and it looks like Sheep Launcher is going to launch his Lunar Whale, and I assume he's going to kind of do a similar strategy to jbruntr here.
Yeah, and you mentioned the water hag at Dwarf Castle. I mean, that's not just one key item check. That's actually, with this flag set, 2 key item checks. Did you want to explain why that is?
Yeah, so on the group flags that we're using for the qualifying rounds of the Threemus Zone tournament, we have the warp glitch on, and this is a glitch from the vanilla Final Fantasy IV, and essentially the crystal room behind the dwarf throne is the same room as the crystal room at the end of the Luca cave. So if you use warp, which takes you to your previous room, you can double up on your key items. So that glitch is on in these flags. It will be off once we switch over to the table flags in the next stage of the tournament.
I'm morbidly curious how many runners will try to use the warp glitch on the table flags.
I just, again, having run a table flag just today, I did a warp glitch and was given nothing in return. Yes, so Bruntr did take a wipe there against the D machines. Unfortunately, he might have gotten lucky here, but once you die. And you have to reset the manipulation. The new Baron manipulation is no longer in effect. So this may not be the grind fight he's looking for.
I'm not sure exactly if it was because Tella ran out of MP or just the D Machine's fire spell got the best of us, but yeah, I've noticed that with the new manipulation, like I said earlier, there's been a lot more people wiping during D-Money than what I've been used to before the group flag. So it's definitely increased in the whole risk-reward status. And oh wow, it looks like jbruntr did get very lucky just now in finding his grind again.
Yeah, that's pure luck. It wasn't even one of our known guaranteed D machine encounter spots, so he's breathing a sigh of relief right now.
And it looks like our character on the lunar dais was a twin. I missed which twin specifically it was, but yeah, just a child on the moon. No big deal.
Yeah, I say it all the time when I'm watching a D machine and when I'm doing a D machine myself. It can very easily get seem easy because those fire spells are percentage based. They're only going to do 10% of your character's health. But if you're in a fast D machine fight and you don't have good healing, those fire spells really add up and can end up wiping you pretty easily.
Yeah, it's nice when you're able to get to a point where you can reset your party, particularly in between summoning D-monies. But yeah, the number of times where I was like, oh yeah, Cure 2 is going to be fine, Cure 2 is going to be fine, why is my party dead? So it's not a guaranteed grind these days.
Yeah, sometimes Cure 2 is not fine. We did pull Silent Staff and I think a Lunar Staff from the treasury, which is going to give a huge bonus to Rose's magic power and that will stat. So that could be the difference between a good D machine and a bad D machine. And Rydia with Sylph, which but Bruntr does not have does not have Rydia. Using Sylph to kill the D machines gives you a heal, and it gives you an added bonus of delaying that D machine death and maybe getting a double life glitch.
And it looks like Sheep Launcher has given us the view of the Ribbon Room boss, and it is a Pale Dim. So Pale Dim got bored on their altar and decided to stop by where the dealers were. So that's a not very free fight right there.
Yeah, we often refer to Pale Dim as like the non-scary Sparkle, but any Sparkle on the moon is a tough fight.
Yeah, and like Bad Karma's pointing out, having illusions for that fight would be a very, very smart thing to have.
Yeah, Sheep Launcher also cannot rely on Rydia's summons for that fight either. Not going to be able to use that Sylph because the counter for summons is a Quake. So unless Rosa has Float and can cast that, that is not going to be an optimal play.
So it looks like Sheep is smartly realizing, hey, I haven't checked Dwarf Castle yet. I'm going to go there. Those are a little bit easier fights, hopefully.
Yeah, so definitely seeing some divergence. I don't know if Sheep Launcher just isn't comfortable with the D machine, or maybe he's worried about his healing, like we've been talking about. But doing some shopping, and we'll see if he decides to take on these bosses here.
And having those Hourglass 2s in the shop in Dwarf Castle is a perfect time to have that, because that first fight, the Dark Imps, you can use those Hourglasses against them to very good effect.
So we've seen King Queen Evelyn, we've seen now Dark Imps and Water Hag. We are running out of free bosses, and we've already know that one of those moon spots is a Pale Dim. So the moon is kind of looking scarier and scarier as we go along.
Oh, completely agree. That's the fun trade-off for seeing all those free fights in the very beginning, because there's no more free fights left. So, and chat mentioned there's no Kaipo guards yet, but there's a lot of scary enemies we haven't seen yet. Still waiting to find that evil wall somewhere fun and nasty.
No, and I don't believe we've seen the Baron guards yet either, which is also fairly free, but Bad Karma can correct me if we have. That might be at least 2 fights that are still out there that can be cheesed pretty easily.
And there's still areas like Waterfall, Mist Cave, the Odin spot I believe hasn't been checked yet. So there's the potential to still keep those nice fights in nice areas and leave the rude spots for the rude bosses.
Or maybe we cursed our runners by maybe suggesting that they should encounter some rudeness up on the moon.
Like you, I'm a fan to see some rude, but that's just me. I just like seeing an Ogopogo in a really mean spot.
Hello, Ninja.
Goodbye, Ninja. I'm kind of surprised by that one. I would have dropped Rydia in a heartbeat for Ninja, but that's just my personal preference.
I'm going to agree with you. I would drop Rydia for Edge, set up three Berserkers, with 3 melee characters, Rosa and Tella. You can get 3 Berserkers going in a Z fight pretty quickly.
I mean, I know the thing with Edge is you do need good gear, and I've seen a long blade. I'm not sure how much else in terms of weaponry for Edge that we found. So maybe that was a factor, but it's definitely something that we'll be asking once they finish the race.
Yeah, that's another thing where we're getting the shop checks on these S standard flags is pretty important because both longswords and ninja blades are pretty available in shops and on these seeds so far. So seeing Edge, and if you've spied either of those weapons previously, you can get him into like doing endgame damage almost immediately.
Ooh, and sheep finding some great value in the warp glitch in the form of the past. So that's pretty nice if they want to go to the moon, take care of some things, and come back to Earth, because then they can just go to the fight or go to Z without having to walk the moon again. And a Luca key. That is an item.
The game is very confused that we were able to loot the sealed cave without having the Luca key, so it decided to provide us with one.
Yeah, I don't even know if this is even Xenocat. It was a disappointing key. The one nice thing, though, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That does bring Sheep Launcher one more key item closer to the 10 key items and the XP bonus. With that, they're saying, you know what? This Baron key is burning a hole in my pocket. Let's go take care of some of the bosses there and get some checks done.
Yeah, Commander Leonhardt also pointing out that that was a vanilla Luca key. It was Luca that handed it to us. So let's Kurthdath this together.
I mean, with all this vanilla and French vanilla, I would like to point out that we've never seen Snape D and Dathis in the same room together.
So it looks like our runners are converging once again, both running through that watery pass and entering into Baron Castle, and they'll be checking this spot almost simultaneously.
So that being said, I'm pretty sure jbruntr will be getting through these fights a lot faster, given that they are in the mid-40s as opposed to Sheep, which is, I don't know Sheep's levels, but not the mid-40s is the best I can say.
So chat asking, why do we call it French vanilla? Because it's, well, I guess I don't know, but it's, I don't know exactly. French vanilla refers to a boss or a key item that is one spot over from its vanilla location. So it's vanilla, but it's a little spiced.
It could be something like Leviathan at Ashura, like the Pale Dim at the Ribbon Room at D-Lunars. So it's, yeah, roughly in the same area, but not quite the correct positioning.
Both runners quickly making their way through that Milan Z at the Vigan spot, and we will see who our imposter king is today.
Well, it looks like there was a takeover by the guards.
Yeah, our Kaipo guards here sitting on the Baron throne. I don't know how. It looks like our king was 4 guards in a trench coat.
That must have been a very tall king then.
So that's one more free boss that's off the table for our more rude checks.
What I love about seeing this fight is I always go after the officer first, because if you defeat the officer before you defeat the soldiers get very confused and they're not sure what to do, so they start attacking each other.
Yeah, so chat clarifying that they're asking the origin of where French vanilla came from. Again, not sure. I don't know if anyone in chat who's maybe been in the community a little longer than us remembers where that came from, or if it was just kind of absorbed just through osmosis.
And we have another cane. So, in case you didn't like any of the canes before, you could have another one on the house. And my guess for the origins of vanilla is, vanilla is the quintessential, basic, standard flavor of flavors. It's kind of like, it's the Johnny Cage of Mortal Kombat. It is the standard, so it's normal. So I'm guessing if you get a boss in its normal location, it's the standard location, so it's kind of the vanilla, the plain. And then French vanilla, it's a little bit classier, a little bit changed up, so you get a slightly different location.
Chat pointing out that it's also used in Link to the Past randomizer, so it may be a kind of it started 3 randomizers before Free Enterprise was even a thing, and just it cycles around the communities.
And it looks like for defeating that coup, we got a ribbon, which, I don't know, anytime I see a ribbon as a reward, I'm not complaining too much because it is a very nice item to have.
Yeah, especially with a couple mages and some rude bosses ahead of you, you do like to see a ribbon. Both of our runners, once again in lockstep, going down to check the Baron throne. Not a bad spot for Calbrina here. Unfortunately, not having seen a Palom yet in this seed, we don't have Quake on any of our party members, but I haven't seen maybe a Gaia drum either. But throwing down the hourglass is going to freeze our dolls and make sure they do not turn into the big doll.
And that's something I always personally forget, that the hourglass also works on the mini dolls. So I'm just going to take a quick note of that for my future seeds. Thank you.
Yeah, the key to defeating Calbrina before, well, the mini dolls before they become Calbrina is you need to kind of do it evenly. So if one red doll, or if only the red dolls or the blue dolls are left, they will form to the bigger doll. So using that hourglass freezes those back row dolls, so they don't have a chance to become the scarier boss.
So now let's talk Rydia. And that galaxy brain play that Cheap Launcher did by saying no to a ninja.
I think this kind of makes the parties even again. That the Mega Flare that Bahamut uses does a ton of damage. It's going to get him through a lot of rude bosses very quickly, and he doesn't need his Rydia to be at level 40 for it to be significant.
And yes, there's a lot of situations where using a Bahamut will trigger some type of counter script, and usually some type of nasty counter script. But there are still plenty of areas where that Bahamut spell is really nice to just end a fight. Ooh, and it looks like Sheep is making the Keyless Tower play, so shout out to everyone in chat that is Team Keyless Tower.
With that, with the Bahamut in my back pocket now, I'm also thinking about doing those Feymarch bosses. Do you remember who they were? I think they were. We said they were rude.
Bonus round, Demist is in the Assure spot, and I believe a Sparkle is at Leviathan.
Yeah, so the Demist becomes a lot more doable. When Demist become solid. You throw Bahamut. When she goes missed, you heal up your party. That could be a doable fight and not too slow.
Depending on which lunar sparkle it is, I mean, there's still a couple that we have not seen. I don't know who I'd want to see for the sparkle right there. I'd almost say Wyvern, but I'm also weird and twisted like that.
I think we want to see Wyvern, but I don't know if our runners want to see Wyvern.
Bad Karma's pointing out Wyvern, Ogopogo, and Plague are all on the table for that one. And it looks like we have found our wall. It's top of the tower.
And it's doing a little dance for us, which is pretty impressive for a wall. Yeah, I think the less rude sparkle of those remaining ones is definitely Plague. I think I always want to see Wyvern in a spot that has less than 10,000 HP, so we can get him with just the opening mega nuke. But we don't have many spots left that are less than 10,000 HP, so that might be off the table.
And there are quite a few spots that will most likely, especially since we know where Threemus is, will remain hidden. The hook route bosses, again, Waterfall, Mist Cave, those type of areas, which can have some fun rudeness that sadly we'll never know. But fingers crossed that we might just get a few more lunar sparkles on the moon.
So Bruntr doing the Dwarf Castle check is still a couple checks behind Sheep Launcher, but has the level advantage, so should be able to make up time doing these checks a little faster.
Agreed, and once Sheep Launcher settles down for their grind, you'll notice that they will be a lot closer in terms of checks at that point.
But we'll see. Keyless Tower is a bold play here. Let's see if it pays off.
It would if we had the hook.
Yeah, Rat Tail is a key item that can gate a second key item, but does require a hook to unlock it. So we always like to see a key item. Does that bring Sheep Launcher to 10?
That brings Sheep Launcher to 9, because the pass does not count towards that key item total. So we need one more to get that XP bonus.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't played Free Enterprise, the 10 key items in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise doubles the XP gain from all encounters. So at 10 key items, it makes grinding a lot faster. It makes those moon bosses a lot more valuable. So I think Sheep Launcher waiting to get 10 key items before he does his final grind or sets foot on the moon.
Oh, unfortunately, that does mean that they gotta start heading to Feymarch, and that is exactly where Sheep Launcher is going. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, which boss do you think Sheep Launcher is going to go after, and why is it demissed?
Pure density. Sheep Launcher not wanting to take that Pale Dim fight, which is completely understandable. Not wanting to grind before 10 key items. He still wants to go for the densest check, and that would be the demist at this point.
That would be absolutely devastating, though, if Demist had, or the spot and Demist had Pan and Adamant. Oof.
Yeah, the trick about chat pointing out Demist not very dense, so I will be stand corrected for purely logical reasons there. But the 10 key item trick in Free Enterprise, it's something that's always in the back of your mind when you're playing, especially as you approach that grind level. But the Threemus zone flags, I I have kind of abandoned really worrying about it because some of these seats have been so quick. You're in go mode before you're at 5 key items, let alone 10. So you need to grind and go. It's you could be a bad spot waiting to get those 10 key items to just make your grind a little faster. You're blowing the time that you think you're saving by checking additional places.
And Commander in chat is cheekily saying that they thought that D mist stood for dense mist, and they're so confused now. I just love the fact that D most likely doesn't stand for dragon, because although it looks like a dragon, it's not a dragon. So we've just been calling it our lovely friend Derek for Derek Mist.
The D and D Lunars also doesn't stand for a dragon. I don't believe they're dragons either. Bahamut, also not a dragon.
Even though that Bahamut is the king of dragons.
It's a very, very well programmed video game. So if it'll be interesting if this play works out for Sheep Launcher. Our key items can be anywhere. It is possible that this will yield 2 of those key items that we're looking for, which is going to be very interesting. Unlikely, but would be extremely spicy if that turns out to be what happens.
Agreed. And jbruntr did stop at the Hummingway shop just now and had tents, coffins, and 2 other items I didn't care about because I saw tents and coffins. Now, if they hadn't done their grind yet and maybe had a whole bunch of eggs they needed to crack, those coffins would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, now, those don't really matter to Jay. But those tents might come into big handy soon.
And to show how confusing it is, chat correcting me that D Lunars are in fact dragons. D Mist remains not a dragon, though.
I just stand behind the fact that Bahamut, the king of dragons, is in fact not a dragon. Just like Charizard. Totally not a dragon.
Yeah, Charizard's not a dragon. That's blasphemy even suggesting that.
I like how the first mega form of Charizard, also not a dragon. So they had to add a second version. It's like, oh, by the way, it's a dragon now. Oh, video games.
But no, wait, Scala, Leviathan is the king of the summons, right? Or is he just the king of the Fey March?
Chat, this is the part that we hide behind the door or the windows and let those 2 fight it out.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's a nice combination of weird programming and a poor translation that makes us have these arguments for a game that all of us have spent hundreds of hours playing.
Yeah, it looks like sheep's slowly making their way through D-Mist. It's not especially with the blinks up, it's not the hardest of fights, but because the whole mist mechanic of turning to mist and becoming completely invulnerable, it's not necessarily the quickest of fights.
Now, Bahamut, the Bahamut summon being utilized here, doing 7,000 damage, definitely making this a lot faster than if we had to rely on just Defense Sword Cane to swing at it.
And Karma thankfully pointing out that, unlike Sheep, who decided to not keep an edgy boy with him, jbruntr decided to ditch, it looks like, one of the canes for a Sid. Or did they have a second, or ditch a cane for an edge, or was it a second Sid that they ditched for edge? Either way, there's an edge.
All we need is a spoon, and the edge can instantly do some serious damage. Once, though.
And it looks like that first check is a little bit of a womp womp with a white shirt. That'll be nice for Rosa, not necessarily nice for progression. So Looks like Sheep is immediately leaving and either going to save and heal up and tackle that Sparkle, or maybe exit out and check that demist spot. We'll see.
Brunter going to take his first swing at the Pale Dim, and that newly acquired edge instantly going down, unfortunately.
Edge was getting very jealous of all the times Edward and Tella have been on floor duty and said, you know what? This looks like a good idea. I'm going to do that this time.
And Sheep Launcher is going to show us which Sparkle is the king of the summons.
Fight Ogo!
And that's a reset out of Oko Pogo.
That is the rudeness I've been looking forward to seeing. So how about that demist check there, Guntum?
Yeah, we're running up to Mysidia to check what Rydia's mother is clutching, and let's see if Sheep Launcher is going to get value off this Feymarked play.
Ooh, that is value. We now have a forge option.
Yep, so where Brunter is going to be able to push through Pale Dim and get his fourth objective, Sheep Launcher is going to be able to forge that Excalibur and complete his first objective. So interesting divergence here, and so we know that Brunter, demist is required for Brunter unless he's able to find a pan.
And that adamant rock makes the 10th key item for Sheep. So at this point, when you have one objective left, you have 10 key items. Do you even grind, or do you just fight bosses as best as you can?
An hour 23 in, I'm going to see if I can fight some bosses and get some experience that way. Don't think we found Sirens. We still have the Tella. I mean, there's a couple grind options on the table, but we do need Sirens for a majority of them.
Looks like Sheep will shortly be giving us a look in the legendary Coco shop. And those are some nice items. We got the Stardust Rod, the Protect Ring, an apple and a ribbon, which, but yeah, that Stardust and Protect Ring, those are nice to see.
Yeah, Stardust going to give 15 wisdom to a black mage and make their spells that much more powerful.
And that Rydia instantly gets the Stardust and the Protect Ring equipped, so that'll give her some serious oomph in the very near future.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Sheep Launcher and I find Sirens, I'm probably gonna do a quick the King Ryu grind, and then walk right into the Pale Dim fight, even just after in low 40s with the Bahamut summon. But choosing the door grind,
I'm kind of surprised, impressed, and just, you know what? More power to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to ask him. If he's just not comfortable with the D-Machine grind. That's why he's choosing to avoid it. Maybe he doesn't know the new Baron manipulation. But the door grind, something we haven't seen much on these group flags, unless we run into seeds without Sirens and without Tella. The other thing on jbruntr's side is that he swapped one of those canes for the edge, but keeping that Sid, and I'm just curious. I mean, maybe Sid has a lot of utility in the Threemus fight, but a lot of that comes from his low agility. So, but if you have a Tella's going to be your anchor. Sid has a lot of HP. It's just an interesting choice. Would have preferred to keep the cane around and then replace Sid with the edge to have a decent damage dealer.
I mean, the only thing I could think of for Sid would be chemist duty, but again, you can do a chemist Sid while anchoring. So, yeah, I'm confused by that play as well. But to jbruntr's credit, they did just finish the Pale Dim spot, or the Ribbon Room spot, got one more objective, and let's see what those two chests have today.
Paying off taking that ninja with some Hanzo steel.
So there is that. However, Edge did not get any XP for that fight, so Edge is still on 28, and no other key item. So jbruntr still is one key item away from getting into go mode.
Yeah, Sheep Launcher technically in go mode just has to defeat that Ribbon Room spot and get through the Pale Dim once he completes his grind. Not having much luck with the door grind, and this Manticore is kind of taking out his party. Yeah, the Manticore does use that flame spell, which can deal a lot of damage to a low-level party if you can't get it down quickly. Meanwhile, Bruntr running into another noodle on the moon. The less terrible of the two noodles, but not a pushover.
Now, I didn't see which spot is this. Was this the plague spot that we fought or were fighting this Leviathan?
This is the plague spot, so it's not a terrible spot. It does have pretty low magic, so the ice 2s are not going to be too bad, but those waves are going to take 25% of our party's health, no matter where this Leviathan ends up.
Yeah, and pretty much any of the lunar spots, you have to chunk your way through a very large amount of HP, no matter what character or what boss you're fighting there. So it's still going to take a little while for jbruntr to finish this danger noodle. To answer Ghost Rider in chat, Sheep actually cannot check tails just yet. To check those, you need the hook item. So right now they're kind of just burning a hole in Sheep's back pocket.
Yeah, imagine just carrying these tails around, knowing they could have value, but no way to get to that cave.
That would be interesting if the pan was behind that rat tail, but that's just me looking for rudeness.
That's the hook behind our king spot, and then pan behind the rat tail.
I'll ship that one for sure. And one more key item, but not the key item jbruntr is looking for. That is a package, which really, since we know where Threemus is, all it is another character check, so they're probably not going to be using that anytime soon.
Yeah, another disadvantage of not having the hook is the Cave Eblin item shop is the most valuable item shop in the game. It contains 2 of the highest level items available. So sirens, Bacchus wines, all of our kind of really heavy utility J items could be hiding there. jbruntr going to give us a peek at what is hiding out at the Ogopogo spot.
And that's a bit of a womp womp.
So, a lot of our free bosses were used up, but this is one of the ones you love to see on the moon.
Especially with those meatballs, you've kind of rendered the guards pointless, because although they have really big swords and really cool looking shield things, they tend to cast a lot of spells at you. So once you use that meatball, they just kind of take every little bit of damage you throw at them.
Yeah, a lot of solid strategies to use against those Baron guards. We saw the mute bells to silence their spells. That rhymed. And we see size going out to turn them into mini versions of themselves and make them a lot less defense.
Looks like on Sheep's side, they've gotten a couple doors under their belts, and they're up to the mid to upper 30s for levels. So they are slowly but surely catching up 2 levels to jbruntr. So it's only a matter of time. I don't know how many more doors they're going to have in them before they're good to go, but I'm pretty sure they're really itching to fight that ribbon spot in the near future.
Yeah, if I'm Sheep Launcher, I mean, I'm gonna get to the low 40s here and then head up to the moon. 10 key items, that ribbon spot is going to be worth 200,000 experience. And in the low 40s with that Bahamut summon, it should be very doable. But I hope he remembers to cast Float, because that Quake is the summon counter for Pale Dim.
But wait, there's more. It looks like jbruntr has found not just any key item, but a required objective key item in the pan. So this just got real spicy.
Right, both of our runners are in go mode. jbruntr has Threemus levels. The edge still a little bit low, but still in that kind of slingshot territory. So we'll see how jbruntr wants to play that.
Considering the average completion for a lot of these seats in the group stage, or the group flags, has been right around that hour and a half mark, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn in the pan, do any last minute shopping if they want to, and then just use the pass. I don't see that edge getting leveled up anytime soon.
Yeah, which makes it even more questionable why you got rid of a fully grinded cane for a ninja. I mean, he does have good weapons on the edge, but Edge is a fairly low level character until the 40s or 50s, or low HP character until the 40s or 50s, so might not be able to survive a big bang.
It could just be that jbruntr is confident enough to be able to nerf those big bangs consistently, but still, yeah, maybe it was just thinking they would have time to level it up, and it just didn't work like that? I don't know.
All right, jbruntr going to be hitting our punch mage with a frying pan and completing objective number 3.
And there is the hook. The irony of that is that jbruntr does not have either tail, unlike Sheep, so at least we now know where the hook is.
Sheep Launcher, meanwhile, completed his door grind and is ready to, hopefully ready to head up to the moon. And we have a race right now.
This is going to be very interesting to see what happens, but I don't know. Let's see. Where is? Oh, I think jbruntr is going to be checking out the Castle Evelyn or the Evelyn Cave shops.
Yeah, likely looking for Bacchus wines. But Tella and Rosa, you don't need the Bacchus wines. this is might be a time that he would be better suited to just be running to Zeromus.
The commander also pointing out that they might also be looking for sirens, but yeah, though speaking of wine, we have plenty of wine to choose from in Evelyn. Meanwhile, we see Sheep Launcher immediately heading to the moon and most likely going on a straight shot directly to that Pale Dim fight.
Yeah, notable to point out that the edge still underleveled, partially due to the fact that jbruntr only had 9 key items while taking out those moon bosses, so the ribbon room spot was only worth 100,000 experience. The rest of them probably around 60,000. So not enough experience to get that edge up to those end game levels.
Oh, and there is that curse ring that we've been looking for this entire time. So that's going to do wonders to, curse our old man Tella down to terrible agility, just where we want him.
Yeah, it's interesting to get a look at exactly what Tella's agility is here. My guess is it's probably exactly at 1, and he's not even checking. He's just confident enough that curse ring is going to do the work for him.
There's also a ninja sword in the weapon shop, but doesn't look like jbruntr made that purchase. Yeah, he got the curse ring and he's good, so he'll probably be heading to Troya very soon. Also, no money. That kind of helps in not being able to purchase things too.
Yeah, I mean, taking a little bit longer to shop than I think he would have liked, but picking up a lot of value in that cave level, and that's just going to make his Zeromus fight a little bit less stressful.
Oh no! jbruntr can't use the inn.
Luckily, jbruntr does not need to use the inn. He will get a full heal as he approaches Zeromus, but maybe forgetting that in the moment.
So while Tella takes a quick nap before we finish out this race, chat, that's your cue. So now with the 3 of 4 objectives completed, something sometime tends to happen. Good job, chat. I don't know, I'm suddenly miraculously seeing these random blue flags pop up. Gundam, do you have any idea what those flags are?
Blue flags, they must be hailing the United Nations?
Yeah, possibly. They might be asking how your sleep schedule is. Mine's been a little awkward because of work. How about you?
It's 12:30 here, and I am no sign of stopping, so that gives you an idea.
It's 11:30 here, so I'm an hour behind you in that one. But but yeah, so basically there are a lot of things we can randomize in this, and the Zeromus fight, Z has to stay right where Z is. We don't want Z showing up in the waterfall. So instead, Scala and the amazing crew of people behind the scenes of Free Enterprise has put together over 450 random, unique, and beautiful sprites that Z could show up as once you use that fun crystal item. So, but there is a question that Z flag is pertaining to, and Gundam, I'll let you be the honor since you are commentating the seed from the future in my book.
Chat, this is where we like to ask, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? Asuka, is there any butt that you are particularly fond with that you would want to see?
Being hashtag Team Edward, I'm always fond of seeing Zero Ward. That being said, I love Zeromus, which is literally the number 0. And that's it. I'm a sucker for good, high quality Baka level puns, and yeah, that is a 10 out of 10 pun.
I think those are the two Zeroma sprites that actually start with a Z too.
How about you? What Z sprite are you hoping for?
Oh, I always like to see Mike Tyson most, just because it's I think one of the ones that looks the most out of place.
I can agree there.
Oh, Scala assuring us that there are plenty of Threemus puns available. And the only way to see them all is to play several hundred seeds of free enterprise.
Now with the crystal being tossed, we get to see the butt for the evening. I literally can't even right now.
I have not seen this one before, and it is beautiful and brilliant.
I've seen this once and I lost it then too. We are fighting Wile E. Coyote.
So Scala confirming that this is a brand new Zeroma sprite that got in with the 4.1 update that was released right before the tournament began. So this is brand new and it's A+.
Now, when I had seen this first, I was playing a random seed on my own, and this popped up, and I was laughing so hard I ended up wiping because Z's like, okay, I'm just going to keep fighting you while you're laughing, and you're dead.
Yeah.
Worth it.
If you're laughing too hard, you probably can't remember to nerf that big bang.
I was okay with that. But while Wile E. Coyote is falling through the void, it looks like Sheep has defeated Pale Dim and has their third objective and the crystal in their back pocket. So the question is, are they just going to use the pass? Or are they going to walk right up to Z?
Yeah, their levels are definitely in the kind of Z range, a little bit lower than Brunters, but Sheep Launcher at an hour 43 probably feels behind, especially with that kind of extremely slow door grind. So I think he's walking. No, he's going to take out a couple more bosses and try to get up to the 50s with his party.
It's a risky play, but one I can't fault them for, especially with, again, those slightly lower levels. That Rydia is only at 1200 HP. That is a very scary HP totals. Or at HP level, especially if you don't nerf every big bang.
And Dodo asking if there's any Disney villain Z sprites. I will not spoil any, but there are plenty in the pool, and they're all equally as brilliant as the Coyote-ness we're seeing tonight.
And I can springboard off of that. And Dodo, I've actually rolled a seed for the group stages that had a Disney boss, and I love my commentators from that particular match. So I'm not going to tell you which one, but it is there is some high quality commentary for that particular fight.
Sleep Venture through the Leviathan, getting an extra 60,000 experience. Not going to be a ton of levels, but we'll see if he's satisfied at this point to make that Z walk.
And no surprise, after that big bang, that edge went down in a hurry. But for the most part, it looks like jbruntr has a pretty solid grasp on this fight, especially with those cures dropping from Rosa. So even down to, I think, unless something happens, I think they're in good hands right now.
Yeah, not doing a lot of damage, unfortunately. You know, jbruntr going to have a hard time keeping that edge up, and with only doing about 4,000 damage a round with the Cane and the Sid, looking into a rather, probably kind of a long Z fight.
It was a very nicely timed elixir, though, coming from jbruntr from edge to Sid, so kudos to that.
Yeah, the big bangs, an unnerfed big bang can hit as hard as 2,700 damage. So that edge at 1,500 HP is just, it's going to be hard to do much with them.
I mean, though with the Hanzo Steel, it's definitely... Edge is definitely carrying his weight in terms of doing that damage, but still, that's... Let's see how this Big Bang does against that Edge. That was a very unnerfed Big Bang, and then, yeah, you saw Edge go from essentially 100 to 0 almost instantly.
jbruntr is already in the back half of the Z fight, though, and so it's at the end of the Z fight. So even though Sleep Launcher is entering the fight now, unless Bruntr is somehow wipes here, it's looking to be and is Bruntr's game.
It literally is. We got the crack flash, we got the boom, and with an official time of 1 hour 3 seconds, jbruntr has won this matchup. So GG's in chat for jbruntr for a job well done.
Yes, GG's to jbruntr. We're going to see if we can get him in here for an interview.
I heard that beep beep, and so I'm guessing jbruntr's in the chat. So, Jay, GG's on a job well done. How do you think that seed treated you today?
It wasn't that bad. I had practiced one similar to it just a few days ago, so it was thankfully one I could do quickly. Well, semi-quickly anyway. Quick for me.
So I gotta ask, because it was one of your final decisions, and why decide to ditch the leveled Cane for the Edge?
Well, I figured he only had, I think, a flame spear at that point, and I was relatively confident that I'd find at least some semblance of a ninja sword down the line. So, and thankfully that paid off.
Yeah, my question is, let's talk about that D-Money grind. How did you feel wiping on the D-Money, and then by sheer jealous luck, you found it again without resetting the whole menu? I hate you,
Yes.
and I love you for finding that. How did you feel?
That was purely dumb luck. So thankfully, man, wiping to the after that much time spent in the D-Machine grind, I just hate to see all your characters go down after that.
No, definitely a rough moment. But I think a bold strategy by just as soon as you saw the Darkness Crystal, getting that D-Machine set up and running right there. Was that you just purely playing the objectives, or what was your thinking about in that moment?
Well, leading up to this race, I was studying some of the early seeds by, well, this particular one was by Pizza, I believe, where he did his sub-hour run. So I pretty much followed that script with the early Darkness Crystal, and it made the rest of the objectives and getting the key items pretty easy.
Okay, so with that, you are officially 2-1, and you are now in the play-in match for the hook route. And looking at all the people that are going to be in this race, it's kind of scary, in my opinion. What are your thoughts? Like, what is going to be your strategy to prep for that race? Like, any same old? Are you going to be doing something different, or what are your general thoughts on that?
Well, I was considering myself pretty much the underdog all the way through this, so everybody was a pretty scary fight here. But yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same. Just looking over the film of the runners that are better than I, and trying to pick up some extra tips just to help out where I can.
Congratulations! I think this was a very well played seed, and you made some bold decisions that really paid off for you. Seeing that pan on the moon, I'm sure was a huge relief. Is there anything that stands out in how you played the seed, or anything that you thought was especially rude?
Well, I rather enjoyed how the magma key and the darkness were relatively early. And then getting the hook right at the end, so I could visit Evelyn and finally pick up those Bacchus wines and what else was there? The cursed ring. Yeah, so that really helped out, I must say.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I was, from the 10,000 foot view, I was questioning taking the time just to do that chop check, but it 100% paid off and probably made that fight a lot easier for you.
Yes, definitely.
All right, any last minute comments or thoughts before you enjoy your end of day or beginning of day, depending on where you are?
Yeah, it's end of day. We're past midnight here. But just want to thank you guys for the, what I'm sure is great commentary. I'll have to watch it back. And the Restream team, always great. And just everybody in the community, but just makes Free Pies just an awesome game to play.
Yeah, once again, congratulations on making that lower play in on the hook route, and good luck in that nightmare of a race that's coming up.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.
And Sleep Launcher kind of getting the news on why he came in second in this race, finding that pan right next to the vanilla ribbon room objective.
Like, part of me would be a little salty to find that, but at the same time, it's the way that Sheep Launcher did their routing. The forge kind of just fell into his lap. So yeah, I'm a little upset, but at the same time, it just so happened that he took a different route.
No, certainly. Like, getting the Bahamut definitely would also lead me into that demist fight. I think that was good routing based on his party composition, based on the items he found, and that Bahamut made demist a doable fight. It's 2 key items, and if he was worried about doing the grind or going to the moon, then that was definitely a good choice, and it led to an objective.
And I did not realize that Sheep did not take the characters from Mysidia. So it looks like somebody is getting a fresh anchor.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to be ditching the Tella for a level 20 Sid, who's going to have I think 11 agility is base level Sid. So it's going to be a good anchor. And now he's gonna use his pass to challenge Coyotemus himself.
Yeah, and during the interview, I was a little. I didn't get to see exactly why the wipes occurred for Sheep the first time, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was partially due to just an anchoring situation that Sheep wasn't comfortable with, thus the change in anchors.
Yeah, I think the anchoring situation combined with the lower levels. If you're entering the Z fight in low to mid 40s, the fight you have to be prepared for a slower, kind of longer slog, and I just don't think that Sheep Launcher was ready to do that.
And actually, if you look on jbruntr's screen, we'll be ending with some fantastic Wild Arms music once more, so get some hype in the fight with some Wild Arms music. Yeah.
Oh, this song's certainly appropriate for a final boss battle.
Agreed. You know, this harp song's kind of fitting just for this whole particular fight. I like it.
So we're going to get our first look at Sheep Launcher's new anchoring. I expect that this Threemus is going to be much slower than previous and a lot friendlier to challenge for him.
Yeah, especially with the slower Z, Rosa making sure our canes are pretty well defensed and berserked up. So, although didn't look like the damage was that impressive, I still think I think he's in good hands this time around.
Yeah, Bruntr also was only doing about 4,000 damage per round. With these canes and those defense swords, Sheep Launchers looks like it's probably going to do about 5,000 or 6,000 per round. So definitely a good position, and if he can sneak in a couple maybe nukes or white casts in there as well, we'll be in a good position to take down Threemus fairly quickly.
Yeah, it looks like Sheep's setting himself up to do some hybrid strats with that Rydia down there, so hopefully he's not like me and is very good at finding exactly when the wall ends and casting everything after that point.
Yeah, if there is a good measure of how long walls or star veils last, I would like to learn that strategy.
I will say there's a nice cheeky way to look that up if you do have a white mage that can cast cures or other abilities on your party. You can actually see if the wall is up, but there have been times where I've looked at that, it still had the wall, and by the time I cast the spell, the wall was gone, and I was sad. So, yeah, a more concrete way would be fantastic.
I guess you could sit there and just count the ATB ticks.
Yeah, but that is a level of dedication and intelligence that I just do not reach, and I am not ashamed to admit it. So
it looks like that Rydia is throwing just level 3 elemental spells. because she seems to be short of the levels required for nuke. Rosa was compensating a little bit for that by throwing that white and doing about 7,500 damage with that.
So it looks like, for the most part, it'll just be a 3-person show from here on out. Rydia did her part, Sid did his part as best as he can, and then, yeah. Now we're just gonna watch 2 Dragoons hopefully not betray us.
Yeah, Rosa's HP still a little low here if we run into a rude big bang, so it makes it a little bit risky with having those 2 canes berserked. But we're going to absorb some full power big bangs and hope that those rolls stay under 2,200.
And that was a very nice low roll on that big bang.
The tragic thing about this Threemus spray is how sad Coyote Mist looks as we're just cutting away at his HP.
But it's not just that. It's as if you defeat Z or you defeat Coyote Mist, it continues to fall. It's like, oh, we're helping him hit the ground of the void. I has a sad now.
Well, I think by definition there is no ground in the void, so legend tells that Coyote Mist is still falling to this day.
Oh, now this just took him a sadder turn. However, in a sudden turn of events, we now have rocks falling, so it looks like Sheep is pretty much done with this fight.
Attempting for the swag white cast. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Oh, so close. But that's the flash, the crack, the boom, and Sheep is done.
So GG is to Sheep Launcher, finishing second place with an official Discord race bot time of 2 hours, 3 minutes, and 27 seconds.
And it does sound like we have a Sheep Launcher in the chat with us. So Sheep, GG, well played. How did that scene feel for you?
Thanks. It was one of those where I felt like I was cruising, but very slowly. So I was never really comfortable in, especially in the late game. I knew I should have been more proactive in trying to find a grind, trying to do a D-Machine grind, but I just kept looking for sirens to make things easier on myself, and I guess that's where I lost a little bit of time. But if I had to guess, I haven't watched it back.
Yeah, let's talk about the door grind, which is definitely a good alternative when you don't have those sirens. But where do you think that went wrong for you?
I mean, I've only done door grinds a couple of times, so I just completely blanked and forgot what weaknesses they had, if any, if they were vulnerable to status ailments, if they could be stopped. So I just kind of powered through and went along really slowly. And the first one I wiped on the second door, I think, and then after that I just said, well, I'm gonna do a few and then kind of complete my grind with moon bosses, since I have to go up there anyway.
Yeah, with the doors, if if you manipulate your agility very specifically, you can reflect that their single hit spell back at them, but a lot of time you just have to power through like you were doing. So
my question to you, Sheep, is when you had Edge, you did not take Edge and you kept Rydia. Now I know it paid off once you saw that Bahamut summon after the fact, but what were your thoughts on leaving that ninja behind when you found him?
My thought was I didn't have any good edge weapons. I hadn't found any legendary swords for him, no Masamune, no Murasame. So I figured a base level edge was not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage for me. If I had thought about it for a second, I would have realized that I could have used him to steal sirens, and then that problem would have been solved. So yeah, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on, but it turned out okay, I guess.
Are you nervous about doing the D machine, unfamiliar with it, or did you just think that the door grind would be a little bit faster for you?
No, I mean I'm nervous about D machines where there's a lot of factors that go into it. I have to pull up all kinds of charts and things, and I'm already keeping track with a pen and paper. It's just too much to handle. So I try and keep things simpler because I'm not a very experienced runner, and that's and I guess you see where experience pays off.
Well, unfortunately, with that, you are officially eliminated from the tournament. What was your overall experience with Highway to the Threemus Zone? Like, is there anything you'd do differently? Are you satisfied with all of your matches? Like, how was this for you?
So I don't know if either of you are fans of Homestar Runner, but there's a cartoon where he gives Bubs a not last place ribbon, and Bubs responds with, "I feel so fine, I feel so elated, I feel so fine, I feel so elated." And that's kind of where I am, where I wasn't expecting to win any matches in this tournament, and then I came a couple minutes away from having a chance to play in. So I had some technical issues starting off the tournament. If I could have that to do over, I would. But overall, I've had a ton of fun. I've been meeting a lot of great people as both a runner and a member of the Restream team. So this tournament's been really positive for me, and I appreciate everybody behind the scenes, especially Scala Kitty, but also to you commentators and to Tracker, Bad Karma, and Restreamer Smafety for helping this happen tonight, and for everybody involved in the community for making it happen overall.
I will say, on one hand, we love having you on the Restream team. It's always fun to see you hanging out and doing amazing things with the team. And two, in terms of Homestar Runner, I've totally never heard of it. That's why I'm going to say the cheat is grounded. You hit the cheat slide switch to it. I'm not going to put that again. But
not so you could throw light switch raves. It is almost 1 o'clock Eastern. I think it's time for a light switch rave.
I'm always down with a light switch rave.
Oh, come on, Fahugas. Let's go.
I see you jocking me.
Oh, God. You guys just want to watch Homestar Runner all night?
That sounds good to me.
I'm down.
So, congratulations on that last place, Sheep Launcher, and your excellent attitude. GG's on this final seed. I think when you watch it back, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I think you played it very well. I think and it's all restreams are a great opportunity to learn because you can watch what your opponent did a little bit differently than you.
Yeah, and I'm excited to watch it back. I'm happy with my decision making overall and my routing. I think that was fairly solid. It's just getting some technical things down and getting more comfortable in the end game that I think is something I'll have to improve on, and hopefully I will before the next tournament.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to know that there were a lot of times where you and jbruntr were high-fiving each other. So you did a fantastic job. So kudos to that.
Well, thanks very much. I appreciate it, and hope everybody had fun on Free Enterprise After Dark.
GG's again, Sheep Launcher. Congrats.
Thanks.
So, Oscar, with that, our time tonight has come to an end. There are plenty of more restreamed races this week, and plenty of more elimination matches coming up as we come to a close on this opening couple rounds of the Highway to the Threemus Zone.
Agreed. And our next restream match will actually be tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's going to be a fantastic, I believe it's a Magma route. A 2020 match between Starman Random and Logos Ethos Pathos. I love that name over at RPG Limit Break, so definitely check that out. We've got a whole bunch of other restreamed matches at that. And yes, Scala is doing the restreaming for that one, so be prepared for the rudeness. I'm looking forward to it. But for tonight, we still got plenty of free enterprise that everybody in chat can watch. We are actually sending you over to Gambit 017. They're doing a pickup race, which I believe is made up of group flags. They're in the Magma play-in, so be enjoying watching them. So I had a lot of fun hanging out with you, Gundam. Again, good job to our behind-the-scenes restream team with Smapey and Bad Karma. Any last thoughts from you, GPS?
No, we'll kick it over to Gambit and wish him luck on his practice.
Okay, stay comfy and cozy, chat, and nighty-night.